5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're live with Neve.
All right. Here we are. You're on Live with Neve, and I am here with a man who plays a saxophone brutally. I've got to tell you, my first thought was, is it going to be Jimmy or is it going to be you? And I said, hell.
I was cheaper.
You were cheaper.
Yeah.
So you've told me a little bit about going and having a sign that somebody made of you.
Oh, you want to start with that?
I do. I'm just getting right down to the.
We look alike. We're a year and 2 days apart. It's Jimmy and Jerry Vivino, JV, and he's a famous rock and roll blues guitarist, and I'm a saxophone player in a different world.
That's very good.
And the popularity of the guitar is such that I get confused. People are confused. They think I'm Jimmy.
Have they? When you were younger,
when we were younger, no, it was never that way because neither of us were that important. No, nothing more important. Funny. No, it's all good. But if I only got his checks, it would be. If the checks were mixed up. No, I'm kidding. But so you want me to talk about what happens with between reviews of records and how our
in
names
general
get
your names get mixed up? And
well, first of all, we're talking about my name being mixed up with Jimmy Vivino.
Yes, but
he says to me, "It happens to me too," and I say, "You're just being a nice brother. It doesn't happen to me." No, but the top two mislabels are as follows. I'll start with a record that we did together called the Vivino Brothers Blues Band. And I think it was Guitar Player Magazine reviewed it, and the journalist actually said, I knew that Jimmy Vivino was a wonderful, great guitar player, but had no idea he was a great saxophone player. At least they used the word great.
Great.
Right. And we saw the review, and I was like, Jimmy, get a load of this. And I'm kind of laughing, but he was pretty pissed off. And,
right.
He got on the phone, and they retracted it. And then they took great out and put good.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding.
But, oh, man.
No. But no, they didn't do that. But things like that would happen. But I guess the next one that I told you the other day, this might take the cake. The NAMM show.
I found it just
you found
kind
this
of a
this
great
is the
NAMM
one?
joke.
Yeah. Well, am I in this shot?
You kind of move. Yeah, you're better when you move in a little bit.
Move this way.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, there we are. Hello,
look
folks. It's a little delayed, but we're good. So the NAMM show, a company that makes the it goes on a mic stand for a horn player, for a sax player. It's circular. And it goes, their microphone, a 421, let's say, which is a great horn mic, is pointing towards the bell of the horn. And on the face of that is it's a splat, like a backsplash, where when you play your horn,
it reflects.
It comes back at you. So it helps with a loud rock gig. It works as a monitor. It works pretty good. It's a great product. So, I work the NAMM show for Van Doren, the Van Doren Reed Company every year. And they came to that booth and they found me and said, Jerry, you got to come and see what we did for you at our booth. And I said, I can't, after lunch, I'll be there. So he comes and gets me, and he's walking me over, and he's all smiles. And
look
wait
what I
till
got.
you see what we did. So I get there, and there was a poster 20 feet high, 5 feet wide. And there's a picture of me playing the sax with their product. And it says, Jimmy Vivino from the Conan O'Brien show uses.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And he says, what do you think? And I said, wow. I said, it's bigger than life. Take it down. And he goes, what do you mean?
You know what? If
you get it already.
Oh, man, to try and tell a sales guy who put all this time.
That's really all he was, you know.
You know, and the thing is, though, those guys, what you said when we were talking about is, didn't anybody like check this?
I did say that.
And I would agree with you, because my first impression would be like,
I said, don't you proof this?
Yeah.
You know, because I had a photo session with them.
Mm-hmm.
They're very good to me. I have a bunch of them. They gave me a bunch. I might put them up on eBay, folks, very cheap. No, I won't. But
I'm going to start the private.
And they were very apologetic, and they wanted to, you know, what can we do? I said, it's done.
Yeah.
What you did, you took it down.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well,
you know,
you still have a cordial relationship.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
it didn't. It was a nice gesture on their part to give me that kind of promo, and then have my brother Jimmy's name there. Was like,
oh God,
oh wow,
I can imagine after. Well, if it happens a lot, I can see where it just becomes a joke after a while.
Well, you know why? What happens is with Conan O'Brien, with all my brother and I go back to when we were 11, 12 years old, playing in garage bands, so to speak, when kids did that. And we were together for many years. And, you know, like the Brecker brothers were,
Right.
and the Allman brothers, you know, and basically there's always a situation where one is more popular than the other. And Jimmy, I'll give him that. You know, he's a wonderful brother, a great musician. He plays an instrument that is more popular. You know, the rock guy, the whole thing. And then he became the leader of the Conan band. So that exposure is such that, you know.
But you got all the looks, so it's okay.
Oh, whatever. You know, it's all good. But, you know, in fact, just the other night, I had a couple of my grandkids. I took them to a place called the Glen Rock Inn, great little restaurant.
I love it.
You know it?
Yeah, I sure do.
And I go in there, and someone is talking to me and about baseball, and he says, "You know, you look really familiar to me." And my son, who is a big fan of everyone I've played with, and I'm his hero. He's a medical physical therapist. He's not in music, but anyway, you know, you look familiar. What? And he says, well, you ever watch the Conan show? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, I got it. Jimmy Vivino. So,
shit.
So it happened, you know? And I said, you got
happened
it.
again.
Said,
you said you got it.
Yeah.
Well, you're so
and
happy.
My son said, he's kidding. No, this is Jerry Vivino. And he goes, oh, the brother. But he knew
player.
I was a saxophone player.
At least he knew, right?
And he said, "Are you playing?" And I said, "Are you playing anywhere?" And he was with 3 other guys, and you know they were in their 50s. They were like music lovers. We were talking baseball, and then we start talking music, and I saw that these guys were really interested in music. And he said, "Are you playing anywhere?" And I said, "April 29th," and that goes for all of you folks. April 29th.
April 29th.
April 29th, Friday, April 29th, I'm playing. I said to him, I'm playing it in Madison, New Jersey, at a very cool jazz club called Shanghai Jazz. And of course, they said, with Jimmy? No, I said, no.
No.
I said, no, this is my quartet. And I said, by the way, the drummer from Saturday Night Live, Sean Pelton, will be on the band with me. And Larry Fuller, from The Last Pianist, who played with Les Brown.
I'm going to have to maybe try and get
Larry's
to that
fantastic. And I have a bassist that I work with for the first time last night in New York, David Kingsnorth. He's a professor of jazz bass studies, upright, at Montclair State. And I played with him last night at Swing 46. I was a sideman for Janice Friedman, who's incredible. And this guy was recommended to me, and I just put him on, and he played his butt off. And could I say ass?
You can say ass. Yeah, we've talked.
He played the shit out of the bass.
All right. Yes.
And he'll be on with us too. And he said to me last night, he goes, I can't believe I'm going to be playing with Larry Fuller. Les Brown being Played
Sure.
with Charlie Parker.
Right.
You know,
I mean, yeah.
and for all you guitar players listening, learn something about saxophone. It's a great instrument. No,
It is a great instrument.
So he said, he goes, I go, have you met Larry? Because he said he's heard of you. I go, I have never met him, but I sat there at the Vanguard watching him play years ago with Les Brown. And now I'm going to be playing with him. I go, that's how it rolls.
That
man.
just feels so cool, too.
That's so cool, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But, you know, speaking of saxophone players, in New Jersey, Clarence was a friend of mine. And,
his son, I just had him on. I played
his nephew.
Actually, his son.
Oh, you had his son.
Yeah.
What does his son play too?
Yeah, Nick. He sings and plays.
What does he play?
He sings and plays guitar.
Okay, he does not play saxophone.
No, the guy who plays saxophone is his cousin. I can't think of his name.
I can't either.
He's a great horn player.
Yeah,
I've seen
plays
him
well.
play with a bunch of people around.
But Aaron's had heart. You know, he had a beautiful soul, and you know, if we're talking about New Jersey, because that's where we are right now, and that's where my roots are.
And that's
from.
where you grew up, right? Not far from where I did.
Yeah, you were in Whitecroft.
You were in Glen Rock, the big enormous rock.
That's right.
That thing is amazing.
It was dropped from space.
Yes,
you know.
Yes, it was sent by Putin now.
Yeah, but
aliens.
But speaking of New Jersey and the talent, we were just talking about Bon Jovi and Springsteen and Stephen Van Zandt and Southside Johnny. It just goes on. La Bamba, and, you know, guys that basically made a name for themselves in New Jersey. Mark Pender, the Love Man, my friend. You know, it's amazing how much talent.
It's like a crucible of people who want to go to New York and end up sometimes, and then sometimes just the people who grew up here. It's such a music-filled environment.
You know, but what I was getting at here is that, you know, in the circle, the family of musicians in New Jersey, it's not. There's a lot of talent from here, you know, and I hope it's still coming up. We're talking about Clarence's son and his nephew, and they're younger guys, right. And you know, the day will come that it'll be their
turn around.
Yeah, Max Weinberg is another one I forgot, and Max's son, is playing
tremendous player.
Yeah, playing drums, you know. But and even the jazz scene. Now that's a rock scene that's very strong here,
right?
You know, but the jazz scene is growing because a lot of musicians that are getting older have moved to Long Branch now.
Yeah. Do you know Jeff Levine?
Oh, I was just going to say.
Yeah. I know Jeff real well.
Now, Jeff Levine, I worked with Jeff for years in New York and recently with Darlene Love. Right. And Jeff, we just spoke on the phone a couple of days ago, and you know, he's like, you got to call me when you come down. There's music here. So I believe it's growing. You know,
it is. The pandemic's like been a knot
through a wrench and everything, you know. But you know Jeff then.
Oh yeah. I've had him on the show, and I felt honored to get an interview with him because he's like, I don't do interviews. When I first called him up, he's like, I don't do interviews. I said, okay. And we hit it off eventually.
Yeah, he's a good people.
Yeah.
And Tony, you okay? My friend Tony, come over here and say hello. Come around the back.
No, and you gotta lean in, otherwise
he will. He'll do it.
We'll bring it to you.
I want to mention Tony because we're talking about New Jersey, and this is a music lover, okay?
All right.
Tony's not a musician.
Hey, Tony.
Can they hear me? Leave it there.
Put it where it is. All three of us
your girlfriend, you might get lucky. You know, you want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I got lucky when I met you, Jerry.
Oh, that's nice. But, no, you know,
put it where it was. Put it
New Jersey.
I'm right here. I'm good.
Tony, this is an example of someone who we need, because a guy like Tony comes out and supports music.
Right.
He shows up and he enjoys it, understands it. And where did we meet? I was with Keely Smith.
Jerry was playing with Keely Smith at the Regency
in
1999. That was 2000. It was actually 2000.
Feinstein.
And he was doing a 3-week run with Keely, which is what they would do in May every year when she would come in. Yeah. And I got a chance to see. I would come to usually I would come to like the first week, the middle week, and then I would always come for the closing performance. And over those 3 shows, I got to know Jerry, and we got to
You're still hanging
work
out
together. And
But you know, they
and
bring
help each other.
you see people appreciating music, and then we need that.
Well,
we
you
need
know,
an
those
audience.
people who are like the really great fans who make it possible for us to make any kind of a scratch of a living. I mean,
Right.
you know, it's
And
not.
And my photos on his live in Shanghai. If
Yeah,
you want
yeah,
to buy
but-
his CD.
Oh, yeah?
You're looking to buy
Oh, I was
his
going to
live in
ask you. I thought you
Shanghai.
had a record. for
I
Live
have
at
a few,
Shanghai.
and I forgot to bring them here to show them, but we'll talk about
We'll
that.
talk about where to get 'em.
Tony, Tony asked me, he took me here, folks, and he said, how much do I get to, how much is it you're going to pay me to,
Is this a paying gig?
there's your pay. No, we're kidding you.
All right, I'm leaving.
Oh, he's off the counter.
But
folks.
anyway, there's Tony Ferrari. Give him a round of applause.
There we
folks.
go. Tony
Hey!
Ferrari. All right. From New Jersey, baby.
Yeah.
It's a real last name, too.
Speaking of New
Wow.
Jersey, I left out my brother Floyd.
Floyd.
Uncle Floyd.
Uncle Floyd.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Uncle Floyd a
Yeah.
little bit.
Uncle Floyd is still going. You can go see him every Wednesday locally in Maywood, New Jersey, at the Maywood Inn. And I had the pleasure of sitting in with his band last Wednesday. But he's there every Wednesday, and then he's doing a lot of Italian American comedy. He writes journalism. It's a radio show on WFTU. But you know, when we were kids growing up, me, Floyd, and Jimmy in Patterson and Glen Rock, my
Wow,
brother.
that's so weird.
Patterson to
I
Wycliffe?
lived in Halden before I moved out to the suburbs.
We
so
were
to
on
speak.
Grove Street for a while, and
Morrissey Avenue. Right
Yeah.
in Halden.
we were on Sherman Avenue in Patterson.
Wow.
And
Small world.
you know, we had a lot of music coming out of our house because our father was a crackerjack carpenter. But
Mhm.
you know, World War II ended, and when the bomb was dropped, he never went overseas because he played in the Army band. He was a
Oh, man,
great
you got
trumpet
lucky
player,
for
19 years old.
Wow.
And you know, they had told him and everyone, if there's a million-man invasion, you're putting the trumpet down. You know, and the bombs were dropped. Unfortunately, war is hell, and
Yeah.
I'm not celebrating it,
Of
but
course not.
it ended the war.
Yeah.
And
It is
you know,
what
I-
it is.
I got to believe that. Who knows if we'd be sitting here talking
Right.
if things were different? You know, with
We have
as
no
far as
way of knowing that
Nagasaki,
it is
Hiroshima.
possible.
Yeah,
And-
it's a crying shame that catastrophe like that has
It's
happened.
a shame that the war just evolved to that point. It was like the
Yeah.
end of the First World War. They said the war to end all wars,
Yeah.
but they always kind of say that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But you know, my father came home, was discharged, and his father and his brother, 7 years senior, had started a construction company, and he said, "Dad, I want to be a musician. I want to play it. I'm really loving this." And he said, "We need you on the job.
Right.
We need you here."
Mhm.
And he was a good Italian boy, and he just
Went to work.
went to work and played on the side. And
Mhm.
but having that happen to him, he gave me and my brothers the opportunity
Mhm.
to follow our dreams.
Right.
But he did, being a great musician himself, he understood that we had the talent
Mhm.
to continue,
Sure.
because if you don't have it, capital I, capital T,
Right.
it's a difficult career as it is if you're talented.
Absolutely.
And there's so much luck involved, which we've all been fortunate.
Sure.
But, you know, because of that, we had all this music coming out of our house, and he exposed us to so much. And even my band director at the time I went to school, he found kids that were really into it. You too, I'm sure. You
Sure,
probably have
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
And he would expose us, and his name was Joe Silsky.
Mhm.
And he was a sax player. When I heard him play when I was in the 8th grade,
Mhm.
I was like, I want to do this. This
For
is,
sure.
you know, so we didn't have video games.
No.
We didn't have YouTube.
Got a
And-
basement
and,
though.
you know, our porno, was in
Yeah.
a magazine,
Right.
hiding in the attic somewhere.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
kid's got it on the phone at 12, I think. Yeah,
Right.
so- I hope not.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I got
No.
grandkids, but I
We're
shouldn't
gonna
have
be
said that.
digging around Dad's bottom drawer.
Oh,
You know?
please. But you know that music is basically, young people are like sponges. Anything that they're interested in, they want to take it in.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's the beauty of music. But you know, my father was instrumental in letting us live our dream, and here we are today. But Jimmy was a trumpet player.
Oh, no kidding. Does he ever?
There's pictures of us as kids, me on the guitar, Jimmy on the trumpet. Floyd was always on the piano with puppets and clowns, you know. But Uncle Floyd, we were talking about that. When we were kids, he was a strange kid. He liked 78 RPM
Right.
Cab Calloway records,
Huh.
Savoy label. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I sure do.
He didn't care for. He liked Motown and the Beatles.
Okay, I was going to ask about
Stones too. He loved the Stones,
Mm-hmm.
but he wasn't into cassette tapes, and
Mm-hmm.
he had old Edison machines that he would
Right.
collect,
He kind of liked doing
the diamond needle. He'd
Right.
rake an old lady's leave and in 1965,
Right.
and say, "Do you have any antiques? You want to take these, Sonny? Please, get them out of here."
Right. Those old Edisons now.
And he was, when he started the Uncle Floyd Tree, he was like 22, 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Old
really
school,
cool.
Soupy Sales stuff.
Right. Oh yeah, I've seen
Pinky Lee,
Mm-hmm.
and all those guys he eventually met, and we all met them and did shows with him. The bottom line,
He probably knows all the Pastores and all the Godfather folks around Jersey.
Oh yeah.
So,
Well,
he's good people,
Yeah, we all know that, but that too is the Sopranos and
Right.
all that stuff, and you're gonna go there. I'm Italian.
Yes, I'm partial.
I'm full blown.
Yeah.
I could be a made man.
Right.
But my father and my uncles growing up during the Depression and seeing
Oh yeah.
bad things happening kept our family away from all that.
But
thank God.
It's interesting because my family also immigrated, ended up in Jersey.
Yeah.
They used to have a restaurant in Wayne called Talia's. It was there for about 50 years. It was up on Alps Road.
I know that.
And it was by Hamburg Turnpike. There was like China Paradise.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. St. Michael's Church was there.
St. Michael's Church.
Yeah.
And there's the Catholic high school there, DePaul.
Okay.
Right across on the other side from the funeral home and all. Like, it's funny because over the years, we 10 years missed. But we know a lot of reference points. I know my grandfather was Italian. Same thing he said. We had some family members who were a little allegations were made.
Well, everybody.
My grandfather
you don't want to be
like,
stigmatized.
you don't want to be hanging around with those people. Like you said, they're just little, don't hang around with them.
No, don't stay
Cousins.
away from that. Yeah.
But yeah, people, a lot of them think that New Jersey's full of gangsters.
And I've worked with so many people, from Don Rickles to Sammy Davis Jr. to Keely Smith, who were involved when Sam Giancana and the Chicago Mafia was kind of controlling showbiz.
Right.
There is truth to that.
Oh, there is.
They all tell me those stories are pretty fascinating.
It is.
Vegas. And,
I like reading that stuff, about the Rat Pack in Vegas. And
Double Crossed.
Yes.
Sam Giancana's brother Frank wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty accurate.
I'll have to read that.
Yeah, you would like it.
That sounds great.
You can get it on Amazon, like in a heartbeat.
Double Cross.
It's called Double Cross. It has to do with Joe Kennedy and his involvement with liquor when liquor was bootlegged.
Oh yeah.
And how
that nice bunch of Bostoners bringing in the booze by the boatload.
But the book is pretty much about Sam Giancana and how he loves showbiz.
Absolutely.
He was like dating one of the McGuire sisters. Right. His wife knew and said, "Good. Just make sure you come home, but you can have your girl." That's the old Kumara thing.
Exactly. It's okay.
Yeah.
Don't want to know.
It's a great book and a lot of entertainment in that book. A lot of pretty cool stories. I'm sure some of it's bullshit, but most of it I think is.
Yeah, there's in Tampa. Interestingly enough, there's a lot of organized crime back in those days.
Yeah,
and I know these folks, and they're all just normal middle class people now.
Well, Florida, Dion DiMucci, Dion de Belmont's a very good friend of mine. I did a session. I'm on a record of his. Dion plays Dion in Blues and Friends. It's his latest one. Okay. Went to #1 on Billboard, and I toured with Dion, and he talks about that too with me. But that's a good record to check out, folks.
Yeah,
Dion's latest. Tony, look up for me the name of that one. Everyone's on it. Bruce is on it.
I remember when it came out.
Yeah,
great list of notables.
And he actually put Jerry and Jimmy Vivino. He put my name first.
All right. Well, that's nice to get a little.
He didn't put Jimmy and Jimmy Vivino.
That would have been good.
Yeah.
This is my brother Jimmy. That's more of a Southern redneck thing.
Yeah.
My brother Larry and my other brother Larry.
It's okay. So you got that?
Pulling it up. Right.
Yeah, it's a great record. You might want to check it out. And speaking of CDs, if you just Google my name, my CDs come up. And
it's not Jimmy, it's Jerry. People.
But Jimmy's on one of my records. I have him on a few cuts. And they said, Jerry Vivino, great sax player, also plays guitar, folks. No, they didn't.
No, that's too fun.
Blues with Friends.
Blues with
Blues with
Friends.
Friends. There we
Yeah,
go.
you can check that out, folks. Great record.
Very
A lot
cool.
of great people on it too. Joe Bonamasso's on it.
Oh yeah,
But he does a cut with each,
right.
and he did a cut with me and Jimmy.
Yeah,
And
which is
you
cool
know how
'cause-
we did it? We did it during the pandemic through Logic,
Oh, okay.
Pro Tools, and Logic.
Right. Just,
And the same with his video that's out on that.
Mhm.
He said, Jerry, his producer called, and it's amazing what we're doing here,
Absolutely.
streaming. But it's the same with music. He said, what do you want me to do? He goes, find a white wall in your house,
Right.
put the track on, and sax sync it.
Lip sync it. Right.
Because the recording was done.
Mm-hmm.
And there he is, and there's Jimmy, and it was
it four
the three of us.
screened, or I haven't seen the
He
video.
didn't have anyone else because he had they programmed
Mhm.
the other instruments,
I got you.
and the producer did all that,
Mhm.
and in fact, even the drums
Oh, really?
were
Wow.
programmed. Maybe they brought a drummer in, but he had me because we were the features.
Mhm.
He had me and Jimmy, and yeah, they did the boxes. And
Nice.
when it was done, I was like, it's like we were all together, you
Mhm.
know?
That's really cool.
Yeah. But you know more about that than me.
Oh, I know what a real pain in the ass it is sometimes.
See?
You add video to any element of life,
Well, you know,
and especially it's magic. Remember when we were like
Right.
16, 15?
but yeah.
I mean, we'd have been like, this is
Yeah.
fucking Buck Rogers.
Yeah. Well, at Disney, they used to at Epcot,
Mhm.
there was the ride that you'd go on, and you'd go past the window, and there was two little kids talking to their grandparents
On the video,
on a
film,
video
right,
screen, and you'd say,
Tomorrowland or
and you say,
Futureland.
"Oh yeah, we're not going to see that."
Yeah,
But
and then
we're living it now, you know.
yeah, honey, pick up some beer on the way home.
Yeah.
Wonders.
But you know, anyway, it's when that video was done, I said, well, Dion said, his producer said to me, just get someone to film you on you have an iPhone? I said, yeah. And then just shoot it. And
it's amazing.
Yeah.
How many acting gigs say you must have this phone or that? Because if you do,
I have an 11 iPhone 11. It was good enough.
they are good enough. But you know, like
Yeah.
I when I saw that happening about 3 years ago,
Yeah.
I went, wow. I kind of like to hang on to mine at least until I break it. You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, mine's been lasting a long time, but it's already dated.
yeah. Well, that's
Now, what is it? They up to 13 now? Or
Yes.
yeah, I just can't.
You can't jump on the whole train as long as it's still working. I just had to retire my iMac desktop, and
I'm ready.
It.
Yeah,
I love this thing. It looked
Yeah.
great. It worked
How did you
great.
know it was time? Did it just go on you?
Oh no, it's just they stopped upgrading. I think it'll only run up to Mojave,
Oh,
So-
that was older than what I had.
and now they're making it so like everybody wants. It's no support whatsoever. It's toast. I've had it forever. It doesn't owe me any money. You know.
Well, that's good. Mine is.
if you can
crossing
get
that
10
road.
years, I've found people who use Macs when I talk to them, and I use both. I mean, here we are, we're on this thing, but I find that you'll replace these a lot quicker. I've been able to hang on to my Macs over a longer time period as far as support and just having the hardware kind of work.
Yeah.
By the way, Apple, this testimonial, if
Yes.
you can just
Get
send
me one too.
Yeah, send one here. Send it to Jimmy. No, I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
Jerry
it'll
Vivino.
go to Jimmy.
It'll go to
The
Jimmy
Postman
anyway,
will read.
right?
Postman will read Jerry
It'll read-
Vivino and say, "Oh, that's wrong."
Yeah,
We know where he is.
you'll have to call him up. Hey, did you get a check? His accountant will be like, "No, I didn't see nothing." I'm kidding you.
That's all good.
Seating
yeah.
dissension here amongst the musical
Yeah.
brotherhood.
But you know, technology is a beautiful thing, but I'm kind of like missing the simplicity of we're talking, you and I.
I'd much rather set up
Communication.
my little drum kit, 3-piece,
Yeah.
and have you over there behind a baffle.
Yeah. You know, I do. I talk to guys. I'll just tell them I'm 68. Okay. So I go back before we had answering machines. I was out there working already,
Right.
you know,
right.
and am I 18, 19, 20 years old? Where are you going to find a kid that's 18, 19, or 20 making money playing music today? The way we had that opportunity existed for my generation. And I
Right.
feel for young people.
I do too,
But-
because there's a lack of venues even.
Yeah.
They're just not like in the old days. There's 6 nights a week of entertainment.
Oh,
And in the
Holiday
New York
Inns,
area,
yeah.
right, every little bar,
mhm.
every town you went to, there was some little Holiday Inn, like you say. There was Florida was like the land of Oz for bands.
Oh yeah, you were in Tampa.
I was in Tampa, and I worked. Coincidentally, I was a busboy at a Holiday Inn there, and it was great because it gave me opportunities to work on my pharmaceutical sales, recreational pharmaceutical sales. I was aiming for the brass ring in Florida culture.
Are you saying you make pharmaceutical marijuana? Is that what
That's what I did.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, now it's legal.
And then, you know what? Back then, the Texas Rangers were owned by Bush the Younger.
Pompano.
Plant City, Florida.
Oh, that's
they
where
were in Pompano
during the spring
and then
training.
The Texas Rangers came to.
They were your clients?
They were my alleged clients.
No kidding.
Yeah, no shit. Let me tell you something. When you're a young entrepreneurial fellow.
What years are you talking?
We're talking about 78, 79.
Oh, wow.
I graduated from high school.
They were good too. They were pretty good, I think.
They were pretty good. And they were like, we got to get some weed, you know. The drug testing thing wasn't so big.
That's funny.
And then the bands came through every week. Yeah. So I'd stay after my shift and hang out and jam with the band. They'd always let me up and play a couple tunes.
There you go.
You know,
that was your learning process.
It was. It was like going to school back in those days.
Yeah, but you know what? When you go to school to study music, that's a good thing. I'm not saying it isn't, but when you don't have the proving ground to go out and, man, now I can really work my instrument. I'll do this. I understand that. Right. I can really work my instrument, and I want to play now. You know, I can play in the corner or with the college band or the high school band, but when you get out there with cats and you're communicating now,
when you have to make it work.
Yeah.
Like when I was a young kid, I just did what they told me. The guy said, "Shut up, mix soup," and I would just be quiet. And you know, to me, it's just like I don't know what the hell else. I still love playing.
Yeah, of course. I love it more as I get older.
Absolutely.
You know, I understand that it's never going to leave me.
Yeah,
and it's something they can't take it away from you.
And it's DNA too, because some people are just naturally great. Other people, you know, there's not many of them. The people who are really naturally great, but there's sometimes just that unique DNA.
Naturally great is in anything. It can be in sports. It can be in carpentry, cooking.
You just
can be a mathematician.
Right,
you have you're wired to understand math, or you know, that's what's beauty of life is. You know, everybody's different.
Yes,
if we could only all get along.
Right. What's the problem with that, people? You know, I don't know. Why don't we run for office? I can't think we do.
No, I don't want to do that.
Come on. We can be thrown.
I'm not going to obsess over things I can't control. I got to let go of it and just.
I think being a musician is much more fulfilling in any way than out there being president.
I figure I'll consider doing it for a living.
Yeah, you might get a buck or two.
I've never had a job other than music.
That is exceptional.
That's going back to what kids do. You know, I caddied when I was 13 and 14 at Ridgewood Country Club.
My cousin got married there.
Really?
So funny. I know the place so good. That's really
wow.
Funny.
That is funny.
Wow.
And you know, in the summertime we'd go there and we'd call it looping, and we got $6 a bag, 2 bags. I was a little older. 12 was a little young, but it was I was practicing, and I remember saying, "Well, I need an alto sax, or I need a certain flute, alto flute, because I have a C flute." And I would go make money just to buy instruments.
Absolutely. I would work paper route in a music store.
Yeah.
I'd badger wherever I lived. You remember Ackerman's music store?
Oh gosh, yeah.
That's where I used to work there.
And then Frank Geluso bought it.
Yeah.
Do you know Frank?
I don't know him. That was after my time.
Oh, he bought Ackerman's, and he put Studio G in there.
Right.
And there was a recording studio in the bottom of it.
In the basement. That's where I took so many lessons.
Yeah, you took.
Yeah, that's funny.
You studied there.
We're talking 72.
And then you taught there.
73.
Well, Frank bought it later, 77.
I was going to boarding school up in Massachusetts, and in fact, one of my guitar teachers at school, we got a brand new Ibanez. Remember when they were making those Les Paul Ibanez? Well, he was a
They're pretty good guitars.
They were great guitars back then. They were like, it was the lawsuit era, the real lawsuit era. So it was. We happened to get one. Somebody special ordered this white 3 pickup, like Frampton had, but white with the binding. Beautiful thing. I was afraid to touch it when we were unboxing it.
Yeah.
And I went up to school and told him, and then I came home a week later, and the guy had fucked up the deal. So they have this guitar. They just like, everybody likes it, but nobody can afford it. And he ended up buying it. I got him a great price, and I felt so cool riding the bus up to Massachusetts.
Were you near Boston? Were you near
No,
Berkeley?
out in the Berkshires.
Oh,
Pittsfield.
yeah.
Yeah, out there.
Yeah, a lot of musicians are moving there.
Oh, it's a great place. If it wasn't for the tax scene, I'd really consider moving there. The taxes are pretty rough in
they're rough there.
Massachusetts. Yeah. That's the only thing that, I go.
Yeah, they say that it's similar to LA and New York.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And in some places, depending on where you're at, down towards Boston, man, the suburbs it's just, I never thought I'd see a city in the States that costs more than like New York, but Boston.
Go to San Francisco.
Oh, yeah, I know. I haven't been there in a long time, but San Francisco's
good.
Crazy.
Don't go.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. It's gone downhill from what they tell me.
Yeah, well, things always come back.
Well, they do.
They have to.
Things go up and down, cyclical. Yeah. It is.
I'm just talking about in general, like New York right now. New York City has got the crime again.
Yeah.
And, we can go back in history and look and say, well, that happened. It's going to happen. Yeah.
When I was going to New York,
God forbid the woke 70s. Generation gets rid of history, though. Then we're in trouble.
Well, that's where things get dodgy.
Yeah.
Especially one day everything will be electronic, and having a book like one of these will be a rare thing.
I believe it.
I rue the day that we can't just like when I work on this shit all the time. Everything we record, you do the show, you write, you talk into the damn thing. Everything we do, and it's great and convenient, but it blurs the hours. There's sometimes where you just got to clip it off and go, hey, I like reading a book to disentangle,
turning the pages and
it's literary volume. Give me about 10 pages and I'm out. This thing, I'll sit up all night. Do I really need a stainless steel stick holder?
Yeah, I know.
No, I don't.
But there's things we are forced to do now with, like if you're banking and, they make it more difficult. There's less tellers.
Well, that's the thing. You pay now to just check your balance.
Yeah.
We pay $2 at some places.
You mean at the bank?
Well, what happens is
because they want you to do it at home online.
Right. So, but you go to like the Waka or whatever it is up here.
Yeah.
And you go in, you put your money in, and all of a sudden it's gone from your account. But I don't know the whole thing about it. If in the old days, if you had say $110 and you wrote a check for $103. They wouldn't bang you like a $25 hit for it.
You screwed up, yeah.
You screwed up unless you were like some chronic fuck up, But I don't know. I'm not a Luddite. I love technology and I enjoy what it brings us. It's like playing a drum set. There is some amazing electronic technology, and I use it, but I would much rather play an acoustic set of drums. It just sounds better and. It's a whole different experience. In fact,
drums are an acoustic instrument.
Right.
Everyone forgets that.
And that feel you get from a well-tuned kit. The Roland, the problem is they're so tweakable, but they're kind of tweaked by the engineers who design it really influence it so much that it can be, I don't know. I can just take a key and make a kit sound sweet.
Yeah.
I might do the same thing with an electronic kit, but you have to it takes a lot of time. Sometimes, it's the programming of the drum sound and things that you can get kind of hung up in the minutia rather than
some of the stuff sounds great.
Oh, well, it's true.
Yeah, it really does. So, even the keyboard sounds now and string sounds and
yes.
And it's not the same.
I'll take
a little bit of difference.
When Lyle Lovett goes on tour, I want to see him with the large band making some large sounds in a nice theater that's not too large,
I play with the Fab Four, and Will Lee, of course, is pretty much the head guy there. And they're playing at City Winery
they're coming
in May.
Yeah,
Lyle Lovett.
They're also coming to Red Bank, I think.
Oh, at the Count Basie?
At the Basie, yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm gonna see either one of those because I gotta go.
Remember Pontiac, their record?
Yeah. Oh,
and you had the large band on one side.
Yeah.
Or was it the large? When the large band came out, that record, the swinging thing, the side B was country.
Right.
I think
was
that Pontiac or was that a different record?
No, I think that was Pontiac.
Yeah.
They didn't really know what to do with them. Like when Curb Records got them at first time, they kind of.
Because what are you?
What are you, country or punk or what the fuck are you? They didn't really know.
Well, they're great. I know what they are. They're great.
I love those old records.
We got the Conan OBiern horn section. We got to play with Lyle when Conan was in Dallas, Texas, and it was a treat for me.
Oh, I bet. He's so great.
We added one horn. We found a fellow from Texas that I put on the band, and that was the thing about being on television for 26 years.
Right.
We played with so many people, and
so do you guys,
especially
do you ever get Jimmy Vivino groupies?
Do I? No, he doesn't have any.
He doesn't have any groupies.
Yeah.
We're clearing it up. This is Jerry Vivino.
Yeah.
I repeat, Jerry.
You look like Bill Maher a little bit there.
Oh man, poor Bill.
Okay, so go ahead.
Anyway, I got a great face for radio.
Right, folks? No.
Hey, all I need is Bill Maher's paycheck, and I'll take over anytime, Bill. We'll have a good time. Oh man! So of all those years, tell me this is just a standard ballpark question. Who is the most favorite actor that you really had the best time? Or give me a
actor from.
Oh no, like
playing with
like on the show,
on the Conan show. Well, Charlie Watts. This is going to be different. Charlie Watts came on the show with Bernard Fowler. Do you know?
Yeah, I know Bernard.
Bernard is great singer, and I was a contractor for the Conan show.
Right.
When they wanted what we call augments. The higher ups would come down and say, we need strings for this act, or we need an extra horn player. You, Mark and Rich, you're going to play with so and so, but we need to add another sax, or we need to add another trumpet. So I was a guy who would get everything, union paperwork together, whatever. Right. And I got called by Charlie Watts' manager because he said, we need a trio for Charlie. He wants to do something off a record, a jazz record that he cut in London. And I said, well, what's the tune? And it was Time After Time. You can check that out on Team Coco or on YouTube. It's a beautiful cut. And when Charlie died, I went and revisited it. I have long hair.
Oh, yeah.
The show was maybe a year old, if that.
Oh, no shit.
And yeah. And
what a great experience.
So they called me and said he wants, his management said, the track has alto sax, piano, bass, drums. So I got them. He said, we need really schooled, old time players, standards, and he goes, we have a couple of names here. Do you know Derek Smith? Of course I do. Do you know Russell George, who's an upright bass player? And I said, I know both of those guys. They're wonderful. They're great musicians. I think whoever recommended them
knew what they were talking
hire
about.
them.
Right.
So they did. And by the way, Russell George, the bass player, he played on Meet the Mets in 1961. They recorded. Wow. They still use that.
60 years ago, he did that date.
Yeah.
I wonder if he didn't get any residuals for that one, probably.
He said, I asked him, he said, no, they were bought out.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, because everyone thought, they'll change it every year. Let's take the buyout, which was, he goes, it was good money. He goes, but I should have had residuals on that one.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, those guys came on, and Charlie, we know him as Rest His Soul, Rolling Stones, and he had brushes, and that was so enjoyable for me because he featured me. I had a long solo on it, and I had worked with Bernard on various shows at Alan Pepper's Bottom Line. Bernard was always hired as a singer for some of the shows that Alan and Stanley Snedowski would produce, try to sell it to Broadway. A couple Leader of the Pack went.
Wow.
This one was called Just Once, and they came close, but it wasn't picked up. But but anyway, that was an experience I'll never forget.
Playing
with the Stones like that,
Right, he's such a gentleman, as they say. Quiet, reserved guy.
And when Conan talked to him, he mentioned me, and I was like, "Oh man,
that is great."
How nice to have these guys, and your sax player Jerry did a great job.
Well, just really nothing like it, and compliments
Conan,
are one thing.
Conan goes, Jerry did a great job. No,
right.
Conan's the greatest.
I bet he looks like a lunatic.
I got to tell you, he's a people person, and never too big for the room. Is a heart of gold. Loves music. Plays pretty good guitar himself.
Excellent.
And in rehearsals at the show, the writers would, they'd rehearse something. The band, we'd be there rehearsing with him, and he'd say, "This is great. We're going to use it." It'd be a skit or something,
Right.
or he'd say, "Get back to the war room. You'd have their little meeting. You got to do this. Every time they came back, it was better because, and we found
because
he had a way of knowing what not to do comedically,
right,
and how to sell something, and cut the fat out. Let's get to it.
right.
Just we saw this going on all the time, and it was an innate ability that he had that I can't explain it, but seeing it firsthand, you got to understand his comic genius.
Oh,
it's just great.
All of the comics I ever meet are frequently, they're so smart.
Yeah,
and their speed of thought.
There's many of them. Yeah,
and like I've had a couple on. Vinny Brand, who's up here.
Okay.
Stress Factory up in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
I went to sell them a sound system and video and a bunch of stuff. And with the comedian, you can never tell when they're, in comedian mode or if they're just screwing around with you.
Yeah. Oh, so right.
He wanted to meet my boss. Is the day we're going to go slide and pick up the check. Now, I just want to go in there, pick up my check, and go back and tell the accounting I'll call you next week, get my money. Well, my boss comes up. We're sitting there, and he goes, Neil is just a great guy. I love hanging out with him. He goes, he's amazing. I wouldn't have bought all this shit if it wasn't for your sales guy. He's great. He said, but I don't know how you deal with him. He goes, he's fucking fundamentally unemployable. And then he starts in. And it's funny because him and I had hung out a lot. Yeah. So we fucked around, and the night we kind of feed on each other. He'd tell a joke, and I'd tell a foul shit joke, and then he'd tell a brilliant joke.
You don't tell a joke to a comedian.
Well, yeah, when you do, because
you learn that you don't do it.
They're so quick coming back at you.
Right.
But with him that day, he told my boss. I looked at him. I go, "Well, thanks for the sale, anyway, fucker." Yeah.
But back to Conan, when he would tell the writers, "Come back in 20 minutes, and do this, this, and this." Mm-hmm. We had a guitar set up at rehearsals in front of the bandstand on the show. It was there. And Barry Duryea, who we call Skills, who was with Patti Smith and Buster Poindexter and the Fab, he's an amazing. My brother Jimmy hooked him up with the Conan show because they needed a tech guy.
Right.
And Conan loved him. Barry would string his guitar and, and help him with amps and equipment. And he set that up for Conan. And he'd send the writers off, and we knew what was going to happen next. Come on, guys, what are we going to play? And we would jam with him for 15, 20 minutes, and then he'd see them come back, and if he were into it, he wouldn't leave the bandstand, and they'd be like, I got it. We think we got it. And he'd just look at them and look at us and play, and he'd call tunes.
I'd rather do that.
I'd rather be doing this,
Absolutely.
But then eventually he would go back to them, and we'd see what he told them to do. All of a sudden, what wasn't funny is funny.
Well, those guys have a knack.
And if it didn't work, he'd go, "We're not using that.
Right.
Maybe next week." But just great,
maybe.
But other people that I played music with on the show, James Brown, I just forget about it.
Tell me about James Brown.
Well, he was Maceo wasn't there, and the Fred, and
right.
It was just basically a thing where he came on and he wanted to use the band, our band,
right.
the Conan band, and he was just really, really professional together. And he brought a couple of guys with him from Georgia, and their names are escaping me now. It was a younger band, and it was near the end of his career. And what was that?
Sounds like a truck.
They towed my car. No, anyway, no, we're good. And it was just. We played a medley of all of his songs. We rehearsed it.
Oh, that's great.
He really knew what he wanted and knew how to tell people.
How was the rehearsal? How long did it take?
The rehearsals were maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
That's what I figured.
And
that was it.
That's it. We're doing a tune. Let's do it, And Bruce would come on, and he'd always bring me, Mark, and Richie up, and to be up there with Clarence, and Bruce was very, I want everyone I don't care that Roy Bitten's on keyboard. Scott, come on up, and
Right.
Jimmy and Steve and
Right.
and Nils, you know, with three guitars now.
Fuck it, we'll find you room.
And Max, of course, was there anyway,
Right.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and
God, he's such.
we had Mike
drummer.
Merritt, you know, playing maracas. He knew you can't have two bass players,
Right.
you know. But Bruce was great, and I remember from that it was when he was going out to do the sessions he did without the E Street Band, but he
Tunnel of Love.
No. This was later.
Post.
This was the Seeger sessions.
Okay.
Remember that folky thing?
Mm-hmm. I do.
And he had me, you know, I said to Bruce, you know, for what you're doing, why don't I play clarinet? And he goes, yeah, why not play clarinet? Because, you know, he had a tuba up there, banjos, he had all kinds of stuff. And he makes a before he goes to talk to Conan, we're going to commercial. He makes a beeline because we go back to the stage with Max.
Right.
Makes a beeline for me and goes, Jerry, that was what was missing because his tour was over.
Right.
I was missing clarinet on that, and that made me feel like,
oh
man,
absolutely.
I caught his ear with that, you know, and you know, little things like that mean so much, and
for sure,
you know, the other people that I played with there that. You know, Keely Smith found me on the show.
Really?
We played with Keely. She came on and used the whole band, and she did a medley of Louis Prima tunes, and I had three sax solos. And next thing you know, my phone's ringing, and Keely wants to talk to you. It was her manager husband, Bobby Milano, and she says, "I love the way you play. You're the closest thing I've heard to Sam Butera." And all the. How can we utilize your talents? And I said, are you asking me to go to work for you? Because, you know, I can't leave the show.
Right.
She goes, we know that, but we come into New York about 6 weeks a year and maybe Chicago. And I was 7 years. Wow. She used me on and off. That's where I met my buddy, Tony. Right, Tony?
Yeah,
that's the story.
Yeah, that's the story. And so that to me, she passed, you know, and I loved her. She was just... And she was singing in her 70s, sounding like the same.
I think that's just the coolest thing. I mean, you know, as we get older, I love playing with the old cats.
Yeah.
You know,
Tony Bennett's another one we played with there.
Oh, I bet that was exceptional.
Yeah. Big band, though. We would really always have like a full spot sax section, but he wanted to use me all the time and the horns on our show, you know.
Nice.
And so he'd make room for us, and he'd come on every Christmas season. With Conan, and you know, Tony's not doing too well right now.
Right,
he's on his last legs. Yeah, but what a great thing, you know.
Everybody I've ever heard of who worked with him just says he's just such a great guy.
Yeah,
you know, it's funny how you find that people, the more successful, I know there's people who say, "Oh, this person's a jerk" or that person, but most of the people I ever meet are really just great folks. You know, well,
you know what it is. There's so many great. You need to be nice because in the business because.
Yeah,
you know, there are people that are a little bit of they can be they can be difficult, and you know, or they have a star attitude. But some of them understand what am I at a young age. If they make it really young, they grow up and they realize, hey, it's about people.
It is, and
we're all people, you know, and you know, you can't be too big for the room.
If it'll just, I don't know. I don't want anybody walking away with that bad impression in their mouth. You know, of me as personally on any transaction, you know, you meet them, you do business with them. Nothing worse than, you know, thinking it's like a stone in your shoe.
Yeah, it is a stone in your shoe, but I'm going to write a book someday. And I have to outlive everyone that I've worked with before.
Of course. I get
no, I'm kidding.
To be released on the anniversary of my 25th death, you know?
Whatever. But I'm just saying, you know, there's so much we can say. And we sometimes, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, period.
Yeah, don't break confidences, people.
But Vinny Bimbatz, what an asshole.
Oh, Vinny Bimbatz.
Vinny Bimbatz, the Italian-American parades. That guy, I'm gonna
kick
piss on his grave.
There you go.
Yeah. Whatever. You know, I'm just
for all of you guys who are watching us, we would normally call this Neil Just Talks Shit. But I'm here with not Jimmy, but Jerry Vivino, the one and only. And, you know, if we'd have done this in the studio, I was going to have a big note taped here that said, do not call him fucking Jimmy.
Oh, really?
I was literally thinking, because what was going to happen? I was thinking, we're going to get in here, we're going to get comfortable. It's just going to slip out of my mouth.
It's funny you said that, because my brother and I have an amazing relationship, and Floyd too. My father made sure we didn't fight. He just, for some reason, he saw families growing up.
That's good.
You know, he had situations with his own brother, and he just said, no, my kids better. If you guys fight, I'm going to get involved, and you're not going to like the outcome.
What a great dad.
It was like, he kind of like didn't force us, because, you know, we were normal. We fought now and then, but he meant that, like,
where you
that
grow up
hate
and don't
jealousies
like
and jealousies more than anything. Like, gee, how come you're doing that and I'm not doing that? Now, he has 3 sons that he had. He's passed away, rest his soul. But, you know, we all it's kind of odd. We all made a career out of music. And, you know, we didn't have the opportunity to say, Jesus, you're on TV, but I'm not.
Right.
And that kind of thing, you know, Max handpicked that band, and he knew all of us from different situations. And
I loved watching
the Vivino brothers were on. It wasn't Jimmy saying, get my brother Jerry, or me saying, get my brother Jimmy. And, you know, it's funny how that people assume that sometimes.
Sure.
Oh, you guys are on TV because your brother Floyd was on TV.
Yeah.
You get that.
Oh,
you know?
Of course.
And then,
not that any of this gigging I've
and then Floyd would say to me, as the years went on with Conan, with his success, he'd say, it's funny, I get people telling me, how come you're still not on TV like your brothers? So that it's
funny.
It's just they don't mean it.
No,
but it's stupidity.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's like saying, Mickey Mantle's son, how come you didn't play baseball like your father?
Yeah, I mean, how do you even?
Yeah,
I've said that. I was talking to Dwayne, not Allman, Dickie Betts' son, Dwayne Betts.
Okay.
When I had him on, what I noticed about him, I don't know this kid. You know, I just know him from being on the show. We talked prior for an hour or two. Nice kid, but his family raised him well. He's polite. He's soft spoken. He's everything I'm not. I mean, I'm polite to people.
You're a good guy.
But you know, I don't go in. I don't ever like dive into somebody and try and shred them on the show. You know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty like big. As long as there's a tennis ball to throw, I'll chase it and kind of come back.
Like a dog.
Like a dog. Which, like my girlfriend's always said, you're like a dog. No, throw me a bone, then, baby.
You're my dog.
Yeah, you know. But I don't know. You can tell, like, I've watched you guys many times on Conan, and I just love watching the band. And
we had a good time.
You had a good time, and you could see it. It's not like sometimes the band's just, or I imagine, I won't get into names, but you know, you get a clown once in a while. Somebody comes on and you just have a bad night.
Oh, sure.
But you know, that's going to happen in anything. I'm fearless, absolutely, on stage or with a drumstick or a mic. But you know, ask like a girl, a pretty woman would ask me to dance, I'd be like, oh.
Yeah,
because I just never learned. Always as a kid playing, I never learned how to dance.
Yeah, well, you know what it is too with music, with television bands. Okay, do you know, the audience may not know, but I think you know who Ronnie Cuber is.
I confess
you
I don't.
Okay, I'm going to tell you who he is. He is about 77 years old right now. I started working on and off with Ronnie when I thought he was old. He was 50. You know, so he's like 9 years older than me.
Right.
I was like 41. Actually, I was younger. I was in my 30s when I met Ronnie. So I was 36 or 7. He was 40, 45 or 46. One of
those old guys.
He was old to me, you know.
Right.
He's the consummate baritone sax player in the world, jazz. And he played on with Benson.
Right.
And he played with there's an album. Tony, look up Ronnie Cuber. See what I can't do anything without Tony Ferrari.
Gotta have him, man. We've all got to have
Ronnie Cuber, George Benson, The Cookery or something. It's a great record. That's why I'm going to mention it. And Ronnie made his bones. He got on that record, and George was a small band, and he said, "I don't need a tenor. I just need this guy." You know,
right.
He plays with Steve Gadd, you know, and Joey DiFrancesco. But it's Barry sax, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Ronnie,
and there's not really a lot of guys out there who are really well known and great.
Well, you know, there was Jerry Mulligan,
and
you know, there was big names, you know, that were and to me Ronnie Cuber, but you know, there's there are great baritone
Oh
sax.
yes,
Don't get me wrong.
I've seen like out there.
And I hold my own on it too, but I play all the reeds. So Barry is one of my favorites. But
He's got a lot of stuff.
what's it called?
He's got Cuba Libre in 1976, The 11th Day of Aquarius.
Look up George Benson.
Airplay in a New York Minute.
And the New York Minute's his record. Great record.
White Cats. Yeah,
you got to look up George Benson, Ronnie Cuber, baritone sax. We'll get it later, but he was working with Mac Rebenek.
Oh,
Dr. John.
Yeah,
and,
the best. God, I love
and Ronnie
that guy.
was working with me with a band called the Little Big Band in New York, which ended up being New York Nights with Donald Fagen. Because Fagen stopped in, heard the band, and was like, I want to do something with these guys, you know, and we'll get to that later. But so Ronnie got to know me and he's on, I put him on the Vivino Brothers' first record called Chitlin's Parmesan. Yeah,
I like that.
There's a tune I wrote, and we didn't have a title, and Jimmy said, let's call it Jerry Boy's Blues. And people say Jimmy's Boys Blues on it. No, they don't.
Oh, yeah, right.
So I put Ronnie on that, and he's featured on that tune.
All of Me? Was that the name of the song? That was one
No, the record.
The Cooker.
The Cooker. That's it.
The Cooker.
There you go. It's a great record. George Benson, come on, we all know. And Ronnie made his, that was like, oh, who's this guy? You know? So he's working with Mac Rebenek, and he calls me, and he said that, I have a couple of subs, and great sax player, Andy Snitzer, said, Andy can't make these dates. You think you could make it? I said, am I playing Barry? Or he goes, Barry and tenor. I said, I didn't know you played tenor. He goes, I do. He goes, when I'm called for it, and he goes, I didn't know you played Barry. I'm glad you said. No, he didn't say that. So anyway, I got to meet Mac and work with Dr. John on a mini tour, which was
that's
one of my favorite things too. Yeah, and but Ronnie, he came on Conan with Mac. We were on the show about 6 years. Okay, and he comes on with Mac Rebenek, and of course he wants to hang out with me. And we went for lunch after Mac did his sound check thing, and I says, "Come on, I'll take you to commissary. We'll hang out." And he goes, "Man, you guys have been here 6 years already." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "It's one thing when you get," because Ronnie was with the SNL band too,
right?
The original one with Michael Brecker, and
right.
I mean, this cat is, So he said to me, "Man, it's one thing when you get a television show. But you guys are there 6 years already." He goes, "It says something when you keep it."
Absolutely.
And he goes, "You're all the same guys?" And I go, "Yeah."
That is an accomplishment.
Yeah, and it was a nice compliment. And, I talked a little later, and with the SNL band, it's seasonal. And when you're talking about Michael Brecker and Ronnie Cuber, and G.E. Smith was the main guy.
Right.
And Lenny Pickett's there now for a long, long time. And me and Lenny are good friends. But the fact that Ronnie Cuber or Michael Brecker didn't stay with SNL was their own choice.
Right.
They're doing such heavy work. They're in demand by so many.
Everything.
And it's like, I want to go do something else now.
Right.
For me, I felt blessed because of the TV show. I'm in a good place. I have a pension, and the fact that anyone can make a lot of money and blow it too.
Oh yeah, you have to keep it.
If you save your money and think smart as a musician, especially, you have to know that nothing lasts forever. And but I learned a lot from a lot of the guys that were Lou Marini, guys like that, and Paul Schaefer.
Right.
I met all these guys along the way and happened to work with all of them. But talking about experience, excitement, and never mind the television show, Paul Schaefer had called me before the show was even, no one even knew who Conan was. It was probably the late 80s. My phone rings, and Tom Bones Malone said to Paul, I got to put a horn section together. I have tenor, trumpet. You're going to play trombone, Tom. He goes, what about Jerry Vivino? He plays Barry, right? Because I did a couple things with Paul. And he goes, yeah, Jerry's a good Barry player. He goes, call him for me. Tell him I want him on on this Farm Aid thing at the Garden.
All right.
All these acts were coming in, right?
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I just took the gig, and I get there, and the horns are setting up, and I was nervous. I got excited and like, oh my Lord!
Right.
There was Michael Brecker and Randy, the two of them on the horn section, and it was me, Bones, Randy, and Michael, and I just standing next to Michael Brecker, playing with all these different acts and hearing him solo on "Don't Let Me Be Lonely" with James Taylor, which is one of my favorite pop solos. You know, it was orgasmic to me.
Oh yeah,
music. So that to me,
that I can imagine. I haven't played.
And never mind that everyone and his brother were on this bill. From Bonnie Raitt to James Taylor to it was Michael Brecker. To me, it was Michael Brecker.
Well, that's because growing up as a horn player, that niche, you guys play a broader range of things than say a guitar player. Sometimes it's just there's bands that are just three, guitarist, drummer. When you have, I think horns add to everything, but that's just me.
Yeah.
We have a band in Florida, and I'd always just have one guitarist and a horn player.
Yeah,
I want one guitar player that knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
and a sax player.
Now I remember the year of that. It was 1986. Okay, so I'm 32 years old, and Michael's maybe 37 or 38. I think he's about 5 years older than me, maybe 6 at the most, and we're all young.
Yeah,
but he's already.
Oh, he was so.
I mean, he's already and he needs another planet.
Did they? I vaguely recalled that they had their own show for a while. Is that somebody told me that I was mistaken? But do you know
that was Dave Sanborn?
It was David Sanborn.
Yeah, that lasted a bit. He was a host of a music show.
Why
that was a good show. Dave Sanborn. I never played with him, and I met him, and this is the strangest thing. We had the same sax repairman in New York City, Joe Catapano, who went by Joe Sax.
Okay,
he's Joe Sax, great repairman. And Joe knew my horns. And Selmer saxophones have serial numbers on them, and they call it a 5-digit. Some of them are they play better. They were all handmade up until about 1970 or 78 or 9.
Okay, so those are the old Paris models.
Yeah, Paris and Elkhart, Indiana, New York too. But the Selmer company knew they wanted technicians working on the horns, and the specs might have changed, but these were crackerjack, and the metal was better,
Yeah.
So he said, "Hey, you coming by to pick up a flute repair I have? I want you to meet someone and bring your alto." I go, "Why?" He goes, "Just bring your alto." Dave Sanborn wanted to, because Joe told him. Jerry has a 66. It was 66083. That's a 5-digit serial number, and it falls into a period where David Sanborn was trying to buy as many in that area at the time. He just wanted them all, and it was funny because I wouldn't sell it to him, but he said, "Jerry, I know you're not going to sell it. I told Dave you wouldn't sell it, and I knew you wanted to meet him." He was so nice. That's cool. He then called me and said, like a couple months later, "Are you sure?" And at the time he goes, "I'll give you $5,000 for it." And I was like, "I don't want to sell it."
Yeah, it's hard to.
You know what that horn's worth today?
Oh, 20, 30?
No, about 12.
About 12.
It's not a guitar.
Right. There you go. I didn't think.
Yeah, you didn't think of that.
I mean, it's a damn complex thing.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful horn, and I just had someone look at it in LA. I had brought it in for repair, and they were like, "I want to buy your horn." I said, "No, not yet."
Nah. How many of them you got?
I'm going to give it to Tony Ferrari when it's time.
There you go, Tony.
all of this guy's done for me. I owe him something.
I'm going to make it into a planter. I'm going to put tomatoes in it.
There you go. It would look even better then, But I just meeting people and becoming friends with people that you idolize.
It is
freaky,
I find just all the people that I meet, I've admired your music for decades, and and it's just like I like just hanging out and talking music, It's the kind of thing that we did like back in Wyckoff and Hawthorne. we just played in our garages, and we played at gigs the school had, or I played anywhere I could.
Well, you're talking about Wyckoff and Ridgewood and that whole area. Do you know the Tessar brothers? Have you heard of them?
Mm-mm.
Rave and Billy?
No.
They're young. They're my age. They're not young. They were young when making their way. And Rave is a musical director for Renaissance right now.
Oh, yeah.
But he's an amazing jazz pianist who I play with. So it keeps coming. And I met him when he was 22.
Right.
And he's the same age as me, and he's 2 years younger. I was 24. And we're making music and getting together and playing. And I did a gig with him when was that? The Cove. Last Friday. Really, it was a great night. We had 2 sold out shows, and I had John Arbo, another guy who was Midland Park.
Wow.
And John's 67. And then I had James Wormworth, Conan drummer, when Max left. And, James is about 84. No. He's a young kid. He's about 65.
Right.
So
little whippersnapper.
So we did our thing, and we had a great night. And at the end of the night, this was such a great reunion. And I said to Rave, who's 2 years younger than me, I said, it's been a long time since we played. I haven't played with him in about 10 years. I said, it's so nice to see that people our ages can get better. We don't stop learning.
No. And if you're always practicing at our age, you can't help but get better.
Well, when you're done learning, you're done. And we all want to continue to learn. And there's no, you shouldn't ever have an attitude, it's too late.
Absolutely. That's the key thing.
You know when Jimmy started guitar? 28.
No kidding.
Yep. He was playing B3 and trumpet.
And he just...
he was a real good keyboard player.
I'll bet.
And he just, he was a trumpet player in a band. We were in a garage band in a high school, and the organ player was not cutting it. And my brother was just showing him all the things he should be doing. Procol Harum,
I love that stuff.
Light My Fire is pretty important signature organ, and Jimmy would show him. So the trombonist from Wyckoff, Pete Jacobs, you wouldn't know him because he's older than me. He's he was a senior and I was a sophomore, so he's 70 now. Wow. And Lee J we call him Lee J. He was a great trombone player. He's just in rehearsal. Pete was late, and Pete was a keyboard player. He goes, why don't we just get another trumpet player and you just play keyboards? That's what we did. Yeah. And then once in a while, Jimmy would play trumpet too. But then he fell in love with the guitar, just noodling with it. And he studied with Joe Cinderella.
Right.
And really put his head down and got into it.
Did
28,
look, you have to do your time to get the chops.
Yeah.
It's obvious with both of you guys.
Well, I had too many instruments to get into anything, but I started on clarinet, 5 years of clarinet at 10 years old, then went to tenor sax, then flute, recorders, bass clarinet, alto, soprano. I have a slew of woodwinds that I play. I dabbled with oboe.
Tell me about that. That's kind of
I sucked.
It's such a hard instrument from what everybody tells me.
I did study it. I didn't suck, but I just didn't have the time. I started working at such a young age that I left Manhattan School in my second year to go on the road with Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, and then the OJs
from Florida. All those Janelle Sandler's husband's touring as keyboard player with him right now.
Robbie Robinson with Frankie Valli.
Yes, Robbie Robinson.
Oh, you know Robbie?
Well, I know him.
He would do one of these for you too.
A good friend of mine knows him good, but I don't.
No, Robbie's lives in Simi Valley, California, right near me, and he has a place in Nashville also.
Okay.
But if you want Robbie on the show, I'll hook you up. He would do this in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that would be great. He'd be excellent.
Yeah. He's not going to come here, but
no, that's okay. Actually, who knows? Maybe when out in LA, I can see him there or whatever.
Yeah, and Robbie is the funny thing with Robbie is 1978. Lee Shapiro, who's another guy that you might want on the show. He's incredible. Lee went to high school with me and Jimmy, and he basically Lee and I were working in a big band called at the Down Under Lounge in Garfield, New Jersey, called the Johnny Bello, Joey Cass Big Band. Johnny Bello.
I remember the name.
Johnny Bello played with Streisand, and he was my mother's first cousin. So that's why I made it. My cousin hooked me up. No, and we just have this DNA, and
right
on my mother's side and my father's. And Johnny, I was 18, Lee was 19. He got a bunch of young guys in this big band at Garfield.
Very cool.
And we were playing with great players and really learning a lot. Like we talked to before about school. You got to be out there and play. And so Joey Cassiri was one of Frankie Valli's drummers throughout the years.
Okay.
And what happened was Joey noticed Lee, good-looking, good piano player, and he said to Lee, he goes, Frankie's manager called me. He's coming out because they're looking for a young keyboard player replacement. For Bob Gaudio or whoever, I forget. Maybe Gaudio was probably producing by then, but and he said, would you want to do it? And Lee's like, well, I'm at Manhattan School right now, but maybe. So they came. Dookie Natoli was his name. He came in, and there, my friend Lee is with the Four Seasons.
Got to be a great day for him.
A couple years later, I get an audition. Are we done?
We're almost done.
We should wrap it, but
I'm going to go ahead and finish the story.
Okay. We can finish it. So he goes with Frankie. Next thing you know, Lee calls me, and he said to me, hey, Swearing to God, the George Young solo. I said, well, I've heard it. He goes, if you can learn it at your audition, Frankie will hire you, and you'll do a whole couple-year tour. We did the Grease tour. So I did that. I felt, who is this George Young guy? He's my friend. He's 84 now. We talk once a week.
Very
This
cool.
is what I mean.
That never changes too.
Yeah.
First time I ever played with a bunch of horn guys, they were like our dad's age.
Yeah.
And I remember they were all World War II guys, and all the young guys.
Yeah.
They were playing with a big band. We were just a rock and roll band.
Yeah.
And out in the parking lot between sets, they all had their flask.
Yeah.
And they're like, come on over here. When you guys, I can smell you smoking weed over there. You think we don't know about that? It was hilarious.
Yeah. Like they've been doing it before we even knew it was.
What it was.
Yeah. And it's just a thing where from that high school, 1969 to 1974, there's 7 people under the tutelage of our band director, Joe Silsky, who's 84 now. We did a documentary that'll be coming out in a few months.
Excellent.
We have a bassist from the Philharmonic, John Feeney, a bassist who worked with Don Sebesky, Doug Romoff, and did tons of Broadway shows.
Wow.
We have Frank Pagano, great drummer, who's works with every Broadway pit show you could imagine. Me and my brother Jimmy, my brother Floyd, and I'm leaving someone out, a classical trumpeter, Jeff Fenho.
And when is that?
It's a documentary that's finished. It's called Banded from Glen Rock.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just amazing how this little school, we had 180 kids in each class graduating, but our music department was ass-kicking great.
I can't wait to see it.
And it's based on Joe Silsky. So a student from the school is a documentary film. He graduated in 74, and he knew all of us. And his name is Barry Rubinow. And he put it together, and they're screening it in LA. Yesterday they screened it. It's being picked up somewhere. I don't know.
I can't wait to see it.
You're going to love it because it's so cool.
Yeah.
And Lee Shapiro.
Okay.
The Four Seasons, but
Well, guys.
Yeah, this has been great.
It's been excellent.
Really,
a pleasure.
Thanks
man.
for having me.
New Jersey ties on.
Yeah,
man.
we're good.
Really, it's good to see you.
And he's hungry. So am I.
Hey,
come on, Tony, say so long. Come on in here.
Tony, we got to say goodbye to everybody. He's good people. He's good fellow.
I don't want him to fall asleep. He's got to drive me home.
Oh, yeah, right? Yes.
There he is. Tony Ferrari. Give it up.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Here it is. All right.
I'm never going to get this hour back.
All right, everybody. We're going to end the broadcast.
See you all.
See you later. Thank you so much, guys. Okay. Let me just close this out here. Where'd it go?
Oh, boy. You have to do it again.
Hey, everybody. This is Steve from Reach for the Sky, along with Jay from Reach for the Sky.